Good afternoon. This is Chad Studer, President of NOAR Technologies, formerly ADSK Solutions. Hopefully we're getting out there. The new branding of the company is to support more than just Autodesk. For Autodesk, though, last year we were fourth in the country for year-over-year growth. We were third for Leica laser scanner sales this year. And, of course, drones is a new market that we're getting into, and they're really taking off. Everybody get that one? We're really elevating our stock. We also work with Bluebeam, so anything you want to do with a PDF makes it very, very easy. And of course, everybody knows we do the sales, consulting, support, but we also rent everything that we offer as well. So you can rent the software, the scanners, and even the UAVs now. So there's a lot of different areas to cover with Autodesk Infraworks 360. These are a couple projects that we did almost 4 years ago when the product was just released. So there's a few things that's not perfect in there, but we were kind of showing that this is how the industry is going to use it. Why we're going through some of these to kind of show you, communicate, capture, and that you can use it for design work. I also want you to know there's a lot more that we can do with the program, but we want to thank you for joining us on the holiday week here. We just wanted to cover some of the basics, kind of intrigue your interest, kind of show you what you can do in an hour, right? There's 3 different modules now. When we did these, there was just one module. It was a free software. A couple years later, it came out. It was $9,000 per year. It's now only $1,600 per year. It includes Infraworks 360, a bridge module, storm module, and a roads module. So the first one here was an example of a hospital. The hospital spent $40 million to build their design, and the problem was the line of sight. Everybody would drive up to the hospital, and they would drive right by it, because as you can see here in the demonstration, you can't see one. And this was I think it was a 45 or 55 mile an hour highway. When we went to look at the project site, I drove by it as well. I had to go back, and after I spotted it to do this. So we presented to a client that they go ahead and laser scan less than a quarter mile of data, and we did that in about 4 hours with them. They never used scanning before. We put it on survey control. We had real-world elevations, and all we did was go to Infraworks, the free version, and download a module. So instant existing conditions. And with that, we dropped into point cloud directly on top of it. We're going to show you all this live and how quickly we can do it. But 4 hours of scanning, 4 hours, like 20 minutes making the model tops, and 4 hours making the animation. And we were able to go from this, from before to after, in order to get stakeholder approval. They literally looked at this video and they signed off on it at the same time. They all kind of nodded, shook their head, and agreed. So very easy way to communicate that design and your intentions to the client. This other one, we kind of use this as a proof of concept. If you're capturing existing conditions, again, this is an instant model of existing conditions. So literally you go anywhere in the world, you're going to window it, and you're going to get a USGS surface. It's going to take orthographical images and drop them directly right on top of it. And if you watch close, you actually see that it does draw all the default road styles in, and you can modify and you can change them. It will also bring in train tracks, trees, any body of water. So if there's a river, stream, or pond, and literally you just drop the point cloud directly into your scene on survey control if you used it. This is a historical bridge in California. And as we kind of slowed down the animation, it slowed down the regen of the point cloud, so the bridge does not have those cracks in it. You'll notice that as we get going faster, it looks much better. But the trees is all Infraworks. Of course, the water, getting water to flow in other programs used to take 40 hours to make it look that good. Now it's instant. See the graffiti, real representation of the bridge. We can do this with drone data as well as 3D laser scan data. Here's another example our team went there and they actually flew with one battery over top with a UAV, and then they went back around and kind of did circles around it to fill in some areas around the roof to get the elevation data. So less than a half hour they could fly the site, and they were able to build a point cloud, use the instant model from the model builder in Infraworks, and drop it in here. What's really unique is over to the right-hand side, the architect had a SketchUp model already designed. So typically we have a lot of Revit models, but this happened to be a SketchUp model that they dropped in there, and they were able to take that to the stakeholders as well, and then continue using this in the design world. So think of it for conceptual planning as well as preliminary design. And as we go through here, we also want to communicate and talk about how the interoperability directly to Civil 3D. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Tony to let him take you through the product and do some live presentations. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chad. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. I appreciate you guys taking the time to try to learn a little bit more about Infraworks on this holiday week. I know we're probably all anxious to get out and get home to the families, but it's always good to learn a little bit more and see what else we can learn on this. So I just want to give a quick background about myself. Specialized in Autodesk Infrastructure Solutions and laser scanning. I'm a certified Civil 3D professional. I got my background in civil engineering and architecture, and I got my EIT shortly after that. I'm a SPAR 3D conference speaker, as well as we have our Civil 3D Guru blog, where we post a lot of our tips and tricks and good facts that will help you expedite your workflows. New certification that I'm proud of, and that we all are at the office. We all got our certified remote pilot certifications about 2 months ago, and we finally got our official licenses in the mail. So we're real excited about getting those in there. And now we're legit pilots, remote pilots, and so you'll see some of our drone footage within our models that we combined within Infraworks as well. So let's jump into Infraworks a little bit. So I'm sure we're all familiar with Infraworks, and you know, you kind of have that broad idea that this is a cool program that I can generate cities in minutes and make it look, you know, really cool or something like that, you know, but I don't know exactly how it works. You know, when I think of it, you know, I think of SimCity, right? You could make roads and bridges real quick. You could throw people in there. You could grab a model of a city park and throw that in there. Then I want to throw a gas station, and then I want to throw an industrial plant, and I could do that in minutes. And then I have this big booming porcelain city, you know, in a downtown area that I just made. But Infraworks is a little different than that, right? So what it's doing is it's combining all our GIS data into one, right? So when Infraworks first came out, they were throwing images like these online, showing, you know, the whole city of San Francisco modeled. And we were like, yeah, right, you know, I don't believe you. You know, how many interns did you have working on that thing to make that kind of a model? It wasn't until we started to, you know, bring it home, and we looked at Ann Arbor, and we tried to grab all our elevation data. We tried to grab our ortho imagery, our road, and our building height GIS data. We combined it all, and we were able to come up with a model like this. And we even threw in some client laser scan data to get the big house in there. And when we could work with all these different file types and interchange them all, we were blown away. We were like, this program is it. You know, this is going to be a game changer. And that's one of the best selling points of Infraworks is the collaboration effort of it. The fact that it's so flexible, and that's like where the true power of Infraworks remains, is where it can combine so many different types of data that now you can start to integrate a lot of different disciplines within each other. So it's not just the engineers working with the engineers. It's the engineers are now working with the architects, because now we can throw architectural models into Infraworks, and we can also throw our surveying engineering data into it as well. And we can start to see how this building is going to fit on our site, and maybe the drainage isn't quite right, or maybe this building position isn't right when we look at our watershed analysis. And then we can look at throwing in some GIS data and master planning data to show, well, does this fit in our zoning? Does this configuration really work here within our city? So we can start to collaborate with our city officials. And then when we're done and we start furthering our design, we can start to push this to the construction industry, and they can start to do some staging and some logistic plans with it, and start to do multiple proposals of how they want to integrate and incorporate all these different moving parts that have to make this project complete. And throughout this whole time, we can also have our stakeholders involved in the process. Like I said, we can integrate so many different forms of data: CAD drawings, GIS, Revit, point clouds, as you saw. You can do SketchUp models we just showed you, and much, much more. There's so many file types that you can throw into InfraWorks that this makes collaboration unavoidable now. It's like all our projects are going to be designed together, and we'll show you how you can utilize InfraWorks to do multiple proposals, to collaborate and create multiple designs, and then to share that between your project team as well as on mobile versions to see anybody, to get to anybody. We're going to go over 3 examples today to show you some of the more bigger features of InfraWorks. First, we're going to look at a subdivision, how you can make a model in minutes, and then how you can use multiple proposals to do different designs in one project. So we're going to have multiple projects in one project. It doesn't seem logical, right? Our second one we're going to look at is a roundabout, and we're going to show you how easy it is to make a roundabout in InfraWorks, and then how easy it is to throw that into Civil 3D and then push it back to InfraWorks, and how we can combine and collaborate with other software as well. Our third example is going to look at using drone data to create as-built conditions within our InfraWorks model, and then to use that data to then get away from preliminary design and advance into more detailed design within our sites. So let's jump in. We're going to look at our first live presentation. Knock on wood, this goes well. Hopefully the internet connection is strong today. I don't think many people are online today. Hopefully a lot of people are on vacation. So we're going to jump over to InfraWorks here. This is our main interface for InfraWorks. It's all our models we've created over time. But the new big feature of InfraWorks is called Model Builder. And Model Builder used to not exist a couple years ago. Before, we had to do, when we did that Ann Arbor example, we had to go out and online and grab our publicly available data sources and grab it from USGS and grab our elevation data, ortho imagery, our roads, and our building data, and then combine it all and make sure it's all on the right coordinates and make sure it's all linked. But now, if I want to look for Ann Arbor, I can just type it in, and InfraWorks is going to zoom me right into Ann Arbor. And now I can zoom in even more specific and say I want to focus on part of U of M, and I can generate that, enter a model name, and boom, it's going to open up instantly. You're also going to be able to set your project group as well. So this is, I see this for our clients looking at it as per project basis. So if you have a town hall addition project, that would be your one project, and you would invite your group. You would invite your project manager, maybe a contractor that's involved in the job, your city official, and maybe a principal as well, so they can stay involved and keep an eye on the project as it's progressing. So we'll open up this first model here, and this is what I'm going to show you is what was generated from Model Builder directly. This is called Lake Manitou over here. This is where the healthy and wealthy and wise of Lake Orion live.
Tony's picking on me, but that's where I live.
We're going to pretend that we're the subdivision developer, right? And you know, we see Chad's got a great spot. We need more people like him in the neighborhood. We want to entice them and get more properties out there, get more people around the lake. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to use this Model Builder. You can see we've got different areas, different waterways. They're all separated. We've got our roadway data too, so we can click our roads. And you can see that it's recognized as Inca Trail, so it's picking up the road names and the design and layout of them. And if you look at my bottom left of the screen, you can see we have northern and eastern data as well as our elevation data as well. So it's not just SimCity anymore, right? It's real world coordinates. We can start to take this data and start to design off of it.
Well, can you put my house right down there, Nathan? Like
Yeah, we'll put Chad down right here. We'll give him a custom boat. So we'll show you. Let's look at our first proposal, right? So we want to design this here. We want to put a roadway and kind of complete the circle and maybe put some more houses in here. But we're not sure if we can do that with the wetlands. So we're just going to try some multiple proposals. We're going to click here. Let's say we need to arc higher up the design to avoid those wetlands. So it's that easy to create a road. Just like that, we've got a road, and if we want to, we can select it. We can change the style. Maybe they don't want a boulevard; they want a single 2-lane. We can do just like that. But you know that's the long linear footage. So let's go into. We'll make a new proposal. We'll call this Proposal A. Then we can delete this road. We'll try that again. We'll try a different configuration. We'll try this one, some palm trees for the neighborhood in Michigan. There's a different configuration. And maybe still Boulevard isn't a good idea, so we'll jump back to the 2-lane. Well, I don't know if we like this. Let's jump back to our proposal, our first one. And it's that easy to create 2 different projects within Infraworks with proposals. So I mean, this is huge when you take your meetings, when you take your projects and your designs to your clients, to your city officials, and you show them, you know, we've got 2 different designs here that we want to look at. What do you guys think here, and you can do a live presentation with them and say they like this design, they want to move forward with it, but they think this radius is too much, or they think this radius is too much. So we can bring this in and we can modify it on the fly right in front of them. They say, yeah, I think that looks much better. Let's move it down here. You know, we can make some changes here. Let's really round that out. I mean, what was the old standard of creating plans? I often ask Chad, because, you know, he's got more experience than me in that area, but they used to do, you know, we always did 2D plans. We would have drawings. We'd create 10 sheets per project, maybe 3 proposals, and we'd bring those into our client meetings, and they would lay them on the table, and we look, and first thing that comes out is the red pens, right? We start to draw all over those things, really bloody them up. But now you can take these, and you can throw up your Infraworks model online on the screen, and they can show them, and they can look at it, and they can start to make design changes on the fly, right? Instead of taking your markups, taking them back to the office, taking 2 weeks or so to modify your changes, then going back and setting up another meeting. You know, you just did 2 iterations in 2 months, whereas you can do 2, 3, 4, 5 iterations in Infraworks in 2 hours. I mean, you're 10xing your results, and you're kind of like dusting off the cobwebs, getting as much of the design issues out of the way instantly before you invest too much time into it. And if you look at this model, you know, it looks like I took half an hour to make this model, but I mean, this is stock out of Infraworks with Model Builder, and I designed that road in less than a minute. But let's jump into our, let's say we have proposal 2 here. So let's say we like this configuration. We've even thrown in some houses here. We like this. We like the setup here. We've added some trees to our right-of-ways. But now we want to add parcels. So we want to kind of separate our boundaries. So what we can do is export this road into Civil 3D, and we can go in and start using our parcels tools and creating parcels with them. And then when we're done with the parcels, we got a good design, we think they're ready, we can export those parcels and bring them back in to Infraworks to better visualize how it's going to look for our model. Yeah, let me show you. Let me jump out of Civil 3D real quick. I'll show you. So here's the parcels that we made in Civil 3D after with the exported roadway here. I just deleted that all, and now I can export all this, and you'll see how this can come back into Infraworks.
So as we go through each of these 3 things today, residential, a little bit more on the road design, the roundabout, as well as the storm sewer, you'll see the round trips the data from Infraworks to Civil 3D each time. The way I'd like everybody to think of the Infraworks, it is a big conceptual preliminary design software tool right now. As we move forward, I believe all the design is going to be completed inside Infraworks. We're going to go to Civil 3D simply for construction, documentation, and most of the design and options will be completed inside Infraworks as we move forward.
So you can see the parcels we made in Civil 3D and now represented within Infraworks. You can start to demonstrate to your clients how each parcel is going to be laid out specifically. It's no longer conceptual now. You can take it and you can do all your tweaks and modifications in here. So let's say we want to add maybe some piping too. We've got our houses laid out. We'll do some preliminary piping to see how we should lay out maybe our water main.
By Tony's doing that, also, it looks like the visualization and the painting and zooming that we're doing a lot in here, but if you really break this down, it's as simple as using SketchUp for real-world AEC use. Everything he's doing, he clicks on it, he gets a grip, modifies the grip to real-world elevations and coordinates, and as well as that pipe too. He literally just kind of drag and drop that in, and we'll spend more time on pipes coming up here shortly.
There's a previous proposal. I've got multiple pipes in there. Sorry about that. But there's that blue pipe we just made. That could be our preliminary water main. So we did all this in 5 minutes now. So if you want to start to add and take your time on it, and you can spend hours on these if you want to really detail your design. And you can start to really get detailed with and add driveways and sidewalks, your tree covers, your piping.
In the best part, I think, you had a couple of skip steps in here, but ultimately I think it took us maybe 10 minutes to get here. Typically it'd probably take you an hour to do something like this on your own, going back and forth the Civil 3D, laying out exactly 1 acre lots or half acres, however you want to design it. But ultimately, when you send this to a client, we'll talk about it later, but we're going to throw this into an iPad, or you put it on your iPhone and share it with the client directly, and they can review it before you get there. But think how much nicer this looks than the standard napkin design, or walking in there with 2D print. And I think you said it last time, Tony, what happens? They get the red pen out and start marking all over it. And then you got to come back later on and fix it. Where here, he's doing everything on the fly. And I know this is a very small area, but going back and forth with Civil 3D, we could do 100 acres, 300 acre sites, and we're communicating to the client that we're way farther ahead, more advanced than anybody that came in here with a 2D print, right? At that point, who are they going to go with? If you're not showing this to your clients, then somebody else is, and I think you're going to get better buy-in, and especially a newer client, the trust, they're going to believe you're 30% at this point, and you have very minimal hours invested to do this.
Yeah, we're trying to tease out some of the main features of Infraworks, so maybe you guys have some ideas and you can tell us what you think. If you want to see us develop a 100-acre site on a webinar, we'd love to show you how to do that. We'd love to get your ideas. So I hope you're taking notes and you're getting ideas as we go through some of the main features of Infraworks here. So just like that, we created a new subdivision edition, and it's that easy.
Is that my boat you promised me on the island?
That was the boat there. I didn't want to show Chad's boat though. So we showed you how to do multiple designs in there with the 3D layout. And again, we got away from the 2D layout anymore. We're not designing in 2D anymore. We don't live in a 2D world. We live in a three-dimensional world, and that helps us better optimize our designs beforehand, before we invest too much, right? The difference with Infraworks and say Civil 3D, if everybody's familiar with Civil 3D and other programs like Revit, the more detailed programs have a higher learning curve, I'd say. They're a little bit more intensive to pick up with, and with Infraworks, the learning curve is dramatically reduced. You can pick it up within a day. It's easy to be good. It's hard to become a master. There's a lot you can do with Infraworks, but there's a lot you can do just starting off with Infraworks, and that's what we're trying to convey to you guys, how easy it is to go from conceptual to design with your Infraworks model. Let's go into another example. We'll look at how to create a roundabout in Infraworks, and then how to throw it into Civil 3D, and we'll even use vehicle tracking, and we'll integrate it with one of the architectural models. I'm going to jump out of our subdivision model. So why a roundabout, right? Let's say we are a civil engineer and we're working with their city officials, and we've been talking with them and they want to do a roundabout, right? They've been talking to all their city officials, and all their city official buddies are doing roundabouts, right? So that's the hot new thing. Everybody's doing it, right? So they want to do a roundabout. They're like, how do we do it? Let's get them in there. I don't know. I want to see if it's even plausible, right? Can we even fit roundabouts in some of our intersections? You guys ever heard of the diverging diamond interchanges? Those are the next hot new thing coming out, and I think we've got 2 going in Michigan right now. But maybe we'll do a webinar on a diverging diamond for you guys if you want.
If anybody hasn't heard of those, definitely look into that. It'd be pretty intriguing to design one of those someday.
It's definitely a different design. All right, so let's zoom into an intersection here. Again, this is all generated from Model Builder, and you can see we have Infraworks is recognizing this as an intersection between 2 roads now, so it's realizing there's a relationship and it's picking up that it's at South Baldwin Road. If we want to make this into a roundabout, we're not even sure if the right-of-way can even fit it into, if we can even fit in within the right-of-way. So if we want to check that, we're going to go here. We'll make it a roundabout. And it's that easy just to make a roundabout in Infraworks. So
I wish they were that easy to drive through.
Exactly.
For some people.
It's a little easier to create an Infraworks than it is to learn how to drive in them. We can look and see, you know, is this going to fit in my right of way? If it's kind of moving the sidewalk, I'm going to have to make some design changes and let my property owners know that if we want to do this, they're going to have to, you know, make some modifications. And Infraworks works just like Civil 3D with your styles. So you can see we've got multiple different styles we could adjust it to. We could try a mini roundabout, a single lane, or even a triple lane roundabout if we want to. Now we can get into design too. Let me say I can modify this radius, drop it down to 40 feet, and then it gives you some space to modify this radius to 10 feet. You know, I could say, I think I like that design. I could even drag the center point over a little bit. I want to give more right-of-way room to these other property owners. You can see that it's bringing the roads into it with it, so it's a live connection. So now if I want to throw this into Civil 3D, there's a great new file format that works with Civil 3D and Infraworks that'll jump effortlessly between the two. I can pick my coordinate system, and I can export it. And for the sake of our live demonstration, I've got it opened already in Civil 3D just to make sure we don't have any issues. We'll have a scheduled crash in our presentation later, but until then.
Has anybody designed roundabouts in Civil 3D? Has anybody took the time to do the alignments? And think about how many alignments are involved, and then you have a profile for every single alignment. Right? There's a lot of information, and I think the most difficult part is getting yourself to organize all the data. Because everybody just tries preliminary to throw everything together, get it out the door, and see if the client wants to go with it. And what you'll see and notice here is all the data in 2017 is brought over and directly merged with Civil 3D. And you can organize all the roundabout alignments into a unique folder to help you organize it as well.
Really great feature there. And then we can see we have our corridor here, and it's even has our live vehicle tracking information here. So it's recognizing that this is a roundabout. It's talking perfectly to Civil 3D. It also brings in our roadway alignments, our services too. But we can take this and we've thrown in a semi truck here. We're going to look at how it's going to track it over the roundabout. Let me jump into vehicle tracking here. We're going to animate it. We'll run an animation. And just want to show you that this is done by NOAR Technologies. We figured out how to put our logo on there. We're gonna figure out how to put our logo on there soon.
We're getting the branding started, trying to get everybody thinking this direction now, and this is our first step. If you guys want to do this with your company and vehicle tracking, we can help you do that as well. Vehicle tracking does a lot more than just placing different types of vehicles into a roundabout or intersection or any roadway corridor design. It actually also will help you design, automate your parking lots. So it also keeps track of how many parking spots you have. It gives you a little attribute and notation for that as well.
Yep, and we'll go over some parking lot demonstrations as well in a little bit. So just that easy, we were able to take our Infraworks model, throw it into Civil 3D, combine it with the assets of vehicle tracking, and then reaffirm our design and continue it and say, yep, this is the design we want to go into.
I think that's where we're supposed to get the news and not.
Yeah, everybody's pretty quiet. Nobody's saying anything.
Oh, that's right. You got them muted. Okay, all right. We'll keep going.
Like they're muted. All right. So let's say for our next example, we want to look into. Let's say we get some detailed surveying design from our surveyors next door. We have an adjacent property that we want to throw in a parking lot. There's an existing hospital complex. We're going to see how it configures and how it's going to work with our roundabout as well. We'll go into our data sources, and we'll insert the parking lot. We can break it up and we can classify our data as certain objects, what Infraworks calls coverages. And so we're going to apply a material to this coverage, and it's just going to lay like a blanket on top of our existing surface. We're going to make it look just like a parking lot with our asphalt. And there's our coverage of our outlined parking lot area. And we can also see we have parking islands in here too. I'm going to throw some parking striping, give it even more context. And it's just that quick that we can start to throw in parking striping over our parking. We can add context to our model. We can start to see this is really close to this intersection here. We may have some heavy traffic coming along this way, coming out of this building here. But we did this in minutes, right? So let's see what it'll look like if we start to spend maybe 10 minutes to an hour on this. We can really start to add some detail to it. Infraworks project. And you can see that the level of detail is only limited to the data you throw into it. This is a Revit model with all your materials in here. You can even see through the glass. I mean, we're taking conceptual models and we're turning them into detailed design models. And here's our updated parking lot where we've got parking islands updated, a sidewalk around our parking lot, and in a preliminary hospital layout, so we can start to see the relationship of.
One of the benefits here, besides bringing in the different types of files, it's really unlimited from file types that you can bring in. But the one that I like here is typically on the engineering side, we have to go to the architect, and they're going to ask for our contours, and we give it to them, and they display it and Revit. Really advanced users might go to Navisworks. But this is a simple model that you can build, and now you can have the architect give you the Revit model to dress up the visualization on your side and create animations and real-world viewing of the model. And the one thing, I guess Troy and I could have added to this, or we can save for the next time, but you can actually animate the cars and the people if you wanted to inside here. You can see we have the cars and vehicles sitting there currently.
Yep, Infraworks has a native storyboarding tab to it where you can start to make your own videos within it, but also add animations while you're in your video. Another thing that we normally don't do as engineers or surveyors is, rendering. That's more on the architectural side. But now we can all work together and we can start to create renderings within Infraworks. We can save our viewports. We can start to generate our renderings from it. And we can also then utilize these renderings to say, I want to see what my view on the outside of the hospital is going to be. When I come out the door, what am I going to see? Or if I'm going to be on the second floor, what am I going to see? Am I going to have a good view? Can I see over this awning or not? Can I see that building or these transmission towers? And you can tell that from our Infraworks model. And this is a great example of how we can integrate so many different types of data. We have a Revit model in here. We have spatial data. We have an Infraworks roundabout. If you notice our roads too, we've got lane transitions. We're not just two-lane roads. We've got intersections with our parking striping and our lane markings. It's quickly moving from conceptual to detailed design. We'll jump out of that and now we'll show you for our third and final example of how we can integrate drone data and use it as 3D laser scan data.
Muted. Use
it to help us with our detailed design of a storm sewer, and then convey that to our stakeholders.
Make sure you stick around for a little bit more. That's not the last one. Here's a little bit of virtual reality that we're going to throw in here at the end as well. Kind of talk about how you can share this information with your clients through an iPad, iPhone, right, and communicate this and collaborate with all the 3D design.
Of course, we have to save the best for last, right? TV didn't teach us nothing. Okay, here we are with our Troy, Michigan model. This is the NOAR Technologies office over here. We can see this is all from Model Builder again. So let me jump to a new proposal where we've got the drone data came in there. So you can see Infraworks didn't pick up our building. It doesn't always pick up every building, so you may have to fly your site every now and then. And we flew our site, and it just took us 10 minutes to fly our whole site. We were able to create a three-dimensional model in Recap and throw it into Infraworks. I mean, again, I can't stress enough how to leverage the collaboration effort and the flexibility of Infraworks and how many file types that it can handle. I mean, this is point cloud data is not light data. Revit model data is not light data. It's heavy data, and Infraworks is handling it no problem. Now we're going to use this data, and we're going to design some storm sewers for it. So you saw me lay out some preliminary piping earlier in the subdivision example, but that's not really, that doesn't really do much for us, right? It kind of shows us that you can do it, and you can kind of see how it's going to visually represent. We need to start looking at inverts, right? Our rim elevations, how many structures we're going to need, what's our linear footage. We need to start getting into detailed design, and that's where we're going to look at these tabs up here. The main tab we've been working on is our orange tab here. This is kind of your standard Infraworks button. This is kind of what you got when you ordered Infraworks back in the day. And then each of these three are other modules that you would have to pay extra for. So this is our roadway design, our bridge design, and our drainage network design. All that was separate, and now Infraworks is offered as one package, all four modules, for an even lower price than they were individually a couple of years ago. $1,600 a year right now. Let's say we want to create our own drainage network. We're just going to go right like that, create a drainage network. We can name it, and we can look at what do we want our inlets to be. Do we want rectangular frames and grates? We can look at how detailed we can get with our 60-inch diameter, a 2-foot sump. We can start to specify what kind of manholes we want. We can look at our pipelines, right? Are we going to want concrete pipe, or are we going to want metal pipe? Or we can also do colored pipe too if we want to designate which pipes are which. We're going to separate our networks. We can look at our 20-inch diameter. What kind of cover do we want? We're not going to need 3 feet cover, right? We're in Michigan. We're going to go try to go for a 6-foot cover. We can accept our drop across the structure and look at our minimum slope, and we can accept if those are what we want or not. And then we can look at our as-built UAV data and see we have an inlet there, we have an inlet at the corner here, we have one here. And we're just going to do a quick example of the storm sewers.
Muted.
We can already tell our total length was 600 feet. We can see our overall. So now we can show you a new example of a new feature of Infraworks is they just came out with engineering view. So they have conceptual view and engineering view. Engineering view kind of shows us, you can kind of see underground with our Infraworks model. So we can see we just designed a drainage network. We can see what the structures are going to look like, what the pipe runs are going to look like. We can even move the model underneath as well if we want to get more detailed.
We can also turn off the point cloud if we wanted to just see the utilities as well.
Right. Yep. We have Infraworks works similarly to all your. We can look at different layers as well. So let's select this manhole here. My properties are going to come up. It's going to tell me what kind of structure I have. I can say, well, maybe I want to do a concentric structure here, and maybe I want to increase the sump depth to 3 feet. I can do that. It's going to add to my sump depth. Now I'll go over my pipe. I can look at it. I can see I've got a 0.26% slope. I want a little bit more than that, so we'll jump it down to 670. We can just modify the invert like that. And now I'm getting a 1.5% slope. Maybe the size isn't enough. I'm downstream right now. Maybe I need to do a 30-inch. And just like that, we can instantly modify our storm design. And again, you can spend as much time as you want or as little time as you want, right? We're going to spend a couple minutes right now just doing a couple of preliminary changes for the example's sake. But you can spend hours on this to get an accurate representation of your model. So now let's throw this into Civil 3D. We'll just kind of do it like so. We're going to use state plane coordinates. And then I'm going to rename this as a sewer example. We'll export that. And I'll open up Civil 3D. This is our parcels drawing again. Just to show you that this is all live. We got some other drawings open. We're going to do a brand new drawing here. We're going to call it Drawing 3. And we're going to go and we're going to insert our Infraworks model. So we called it sewer example. We're going to open that up. I need to set my coordinate system, and it's going to recognize the Infraworks model is set to a coordinate system. I'm only going to bring in what I need. So I'm not going to bring in my intersections or my roads. I will bring in my terrain surfaces. Well, let's not bring, let's bring in our terrain surfaces, and then we'll bring in our pipes and our structures. We'll hit OK. I'm going to open our model. It's going to import 8 entities. So you can see we're just sampling this little size here. So let's say we're going to put in another structure over here. So we can grab our structure here. Let's say we need to move this down. It's actually located farther down here. And then we're going to need to edit our pipe network. We need to add another structure. So we'll do a concentric structure, 36-inch diameter. And we'll do a 21-inch concrete pipe, and we're going to put it, just to show you, it's a little different than the other one. We're going to snap to ours. And there. So we've made 2 changes. And now we're going to export it back. We're going to save this, Drawing 3. And it's going to save it now. Give it 1 second to think. Just so I don't forget, I think it saved it to my documents folder. Okay, and it says export complete, so we'll jump back to our Infraworks model. We'll go back to our data sources. We'll choose our file type. We need to import Autodesk IMX, our documents folder. Drawing 3 at 2:49 p.m. That's the one. We're going to open that up. And it's going to say, do we want to import the services, pipes, and structures? We just want the pipes and structures. And then we're going to configure them, make sure that they're in the right spot. Geolocation's correct. We're going to close and refresh. You can see it updated it, but if anybody's familiar with Civil 3D, you can tell that it's not referencing a surface, so it's putting it at 0 elevation.
I just want to make it obvious so everybody can see the new structure.
Exactly. Right there it is. You can see the new structure there. So we put more time into our Civil 3D model down the road, but you can see it did update it, but it's not referencing a surface, so that's why it put that rim, it put that structure at 0 elevation.
And as you saw earlier, we just go in there, type a new rim, or type a new invert, and change the grade of pipe to continue the design as well.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of interactive design and utility work that we can do as well here. But we just want to keep it short and sweet, kind of give everybody an idea of what the program has to offer. And we're going to move on to the mobile solution next.
All right, so we talked about the collaboration efforts in Infraworks and how easy it is to share your model. And first off, we told you how you can share your whole model with your team, which is a great asset already. But now you can also share it with whoever has an internet browser. You can now create a link and email somebody a link to your project, and it's that easy to bring it up. So this is Infraworks within a browser right here, infraworks360.rs.com, and this is how it views. This is a construction example that we had we made in Grand Rapids, and it's just going to display it in plan view right now. But what you can do is you can create 3-dimensional views, which is like your bookmarks. We created a bookmark earlier with our rendering site, and then you can render those sites. And we have 2 different viewports here. So we have one viewport that's in a different proposal, right? So we have a construction demo staging proposal. We also have a construction demo proposal as well. So we can look at 2 different proposals in 3 dimensions. So we'll look at let's look at the staging one. I'll click that. and it's going to open me up into an InfoWorks viewer. So this is the same functionality and navigation interface as InfoWorks. And it's got the same controls that you use to pan and zoom, and it's still in 3 dimensions. So anybody with a browser, you can email this link to anybody and they'll be able to bring it up. And then you can also add the chat window, and people can start to comment and add their design and say, I want to move this, maybe this is too deep of a foundation, or it's not deep enough, or this crane location doesn't look right. I think we're going to have some trouble there placing the crane. We should look into a new area. Then we can also see and filter out some of our layer data as well.
Like a 3D PDF?
Like a 3D PDF almost, right?
Not bad.
And it's that easy in InfoWorks to create mobile solutions. And then we talked earlier about some rendering and animations. If anybody's interested in any animations in InfoWorks, we can definitely show you how to utilize those to your advantage. We were working with the client to do a traffic simulation in InfoWorks and how we can do that. And it's not extra modules. All these extra things we're talking about, it's not an additional price. Everything is now included in InfoWorks. So we'll see how many people are still left. We can jump to our virtual reality example if everybody's ready for it. We'll show you how you can create a virtual reality experience from InfoWorks now. We've already got one made up in here. We made a new one for you guys. So if anybody has a QR scanner on their phone, they can go ahead and scan this barcode here, and they can then display this onto their Google Cardboard headset in their phone. Or if anybody copies that QR code, they can then take that, and you can send this to any of your clients, and you can instantly visualize them in their model.
One of the things you see on commercials for Christmas, one of the biggest gifts this year, I think, is the 3D goggles. They're a little more pricey, but they're more interactive, more immersive. They put you right in your scene. This is neat, but when you put the glasses on and you're looking at that person, they're staring at the ceiling for no reason, or they're moving their head up and down, that's where the fun comes in. And it's going to be more and more immersive in these sites. What do you say the cardboard cost for the cutout glasses you can get on Amazon?
Right, those are about $5, but if you want to splurge, you can spend $12.
So $12, you guys go out and buy the cardboard glasses, you slide your iPhone in there, and we can literally make an immersive site, a virtual reality site from InfoWorks 360 in order to immerse yourself in there. The biggest advantage where we're taking this next, we're hoping to have have everybody maybe on site or some type of presentation where it shows it a little bit better. But the idea of this is if you model the pipes and the storm sewer underground, and we take an iPad and we go outside and you have a GPS connection, this now becomes real useful because we can actually take that iPad, point it in the direction we want, and look down the road, and you would see all the pipes, where they're going to be located, and you're going to have a 3D as of the data, or as you're building it, you're going to go out there before you construct it, and you'll be able to see where everything's going to go.
Exactly. That's the biggest draw we're hoping clients will embrace is the virtual reality in augmenting your positioning. Like that's the biggest key right there. So we hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. We're going to wait online if you guys have any chat questions you want to throw in to the presentation, and we can start to address a couple of them if you have any questions. Send us an email. We're definitely interested in your feedback. We want to know what you guys are looking to learn. This is just a big overview of InfoWorks to show you how powerful the program is, but there's a lot more we can do with it. And if you guys have specific applications you're wondering it can tap into, we definitely will have answers for you.
We'll check the chat window real quick. If you guys have any quick questions that you'd like to add, and if you can do that, we'll give it a couple minutes. We did record this video, so we're going to post it on our website or by YouTube. We can send a link out to everybody if you'd like to share it throughout your company and kind of show them maybe what you saw, your ideas, where you can move going forward. Looks like you must have wowed everybody. I don't see a lot of questions.
Yeah, we'll leave the animation up here in case everyone.
Muted.
Another QR code.
There you go.
If they want to take a picture of that. And you don't need a separate application for this. You just need a QR scanner, and it'll bring this link up to you.
One of the questions that did come in is how easy is it to animate?
So it's fairly easy. You just need to understand how the different programs are going to interact. So it's a little bit of a workflow where you're going to work with Infraworks, and you're going to then take that to Civil 3D, and then we can use the Civil 3D features to create animations off of from 3ds Max. So that's where it kind of gets tricky, is using 3ds Max. But if you have some experience with it, it doesn't take much experience. I definitely do not have much experience with 3ds Max, and I can make animations in Infraworks. It's just another step, another program.
I think there's two ways to think of animate, and the first place I go to is the cars, or the animations on the 3ds Max, and really doing high-end animations. But also another way to take a look at animation is some of the videos and examples that we provided for you. Literally, you just have a camera, and you're just telling the camera to go forward or backwards. And I believe there's 6 commands, and that type of animation, like going down the roadway, is very, very easy to do. And literally, the entire program is one of the easiest I've ever learned how to use. You'll notice he picks up something to get the grips, you drag and drop it. The animation that he's doing right here live, you can just tell it where to start, tell it how many frames you want to look to the left, or you want to look to the right. You can tell it you want to go forward, up or down, you want to put a tilt in it. And I think the easiest part about doing the animation is it shows you live as you're going. You don't have to set a bunch of cameras all over the place. You don't have to move objects, and then kind of what you see is what you get. This is literally, you're moving it and watching it and telling it, I want to go from one point to the next. So, I don't know, probably my first one of that, it took me a half hour to fully understand, maybe an hour to kind of almost be a professional at doing these animations. But this is probably the easiest way to do it. And then as you get into adding cars and people, it's a little bit more advanced, but definitely doable. Much easier than other programs. You can also speed up and slow down the animations as well.
Yeah, that's like, I apologize for my answer. They instantly jump to making things harder than they are. There's multiple different animations you can do, and Chad clarified that for us.
I'm glad that Scott was getting busy. All right, any other questions? If not, happy holidays to everybody. Thank you for taking the time during this week to hang out with us and check out the new technology. If you have any questions or looking to take training, it's all available here at NOAR Technologies. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.